After 11 films and 40 years later, does the all-time boogeyman and slasher film add any new value to this franchise?
Thankfully and mercifully, this Halloween retcons all those other garbage Halloween movies that came before it.
That's right, all the previous 9 sequels, you know? I mean, this movie picks up 40 years right after the first Halloween. It, you know, gets rid of Halloween 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and all the Rob Zombie remakes, and everything is out.
So this time around we have Jamie Lee Curtis and her daughter played by Judy Greer and her granddaughter played by up-and-comer Andy Matichak. And of course we have Will Patton back as the officer from Halloween. This is a movie directed by David Gordon Green, who's known for making serious movies like Stronger and comedies like The Pineapple Express. And so in this movie, it's kind of your standard Halloween plot, right? You have Michael Myers, who's, you know, escaping confinement, and he's once again harassing, well, killing teenagers out in the open, inside houses.
Slightly less promiscuous teenagers this time around.
I appreciate they had to cover it up. I appreciated that. Yeah, and of course, he's after the one that got away, Laurie Strode.
So the ultimate question on everybody's mind is, after 11 films, does this movie have anything new to add to this franchise? And here today we have a special guest. Sal is joining us, and he is a Halloween franchise expert.
And he's a horror extraordinaire.
That's right. I'm so sorry. So as for me, this movie felt like, you know, a lot of other Halloween movies actually, and there were a lot of callbacks to the original 1978 classic. You know, you have your few jump scares, you have characters making unwise decisions that ultimately get them into trouble, and you're yelling at the screen going, oh my god, why are you doing that?
Yes.
Right? But, you know, I appreciated the fact that there were some interesting themes, unfortunately, that were not very well developed, but of course, there were some themes about the, you know, predator versus prey idea, and how there's a fine line between a predator and a prey. Of course, the predator in this case is the Michael Myers character, and the prey is the Laurie Strode character. But the movie really plays around the idea that, hey, maybe Laurie Strode here is more of the predator. What about you, Sal? What did you think about the plot of this film?
As a classic Halloween fan, I felt that this film did not live up to its expectations. Unfortunately, it didn't capture the dreary tone of the original, which I think is the result of David Gordon Green and Danny McBride's horrible writing. Unfortunately, the humor in this movie shined, but the horror did not. Unfortunately, I felt that this film couldn't communicate the added feminist undertones, which is probably the result of them attempting to retroactively add these themes onto the 1978 classic.
Yeah, you brought up really 2 good points. One is that the comedy shines, but the horror doesn't really.
Right.
And I think that what it boils down to, it fell flat. And I think that what it boils down to is the fact that in the original film, there's a shroud of mystery and mystique surrounding the Michael Myers character. You really don't understand why he's killing, and that's part of the intrigue of the first movie. You're trying to find out, well, why is this boogeyman, you know, killing and targeting teenagers specifically? Is it because, you know, is it an anti-teenage promiscuity tale, you know? How deep does it go into that? Or is he just like an evil spirit, you know, going after people?
Just be an evil psychopath.
An evil psychopath, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But in this movie, he's just like a straight up, you know, killing machine, and they show him way too much. And I thought that in the original film, part of it was the fact that they didn't show him as much. And also the other thing is the feminism themes in this movie, of course. I mean, it can't be more blatant, you know, like at the end of this film, I don't want to give too much away, of course, but let's just say that it's females going after Michael Myers.
We really had high expectations going to this movie, and the opening scene seemed like it had a lot of potential, you know, with these podcasting journalists trying to, you know, get a rise out of Michael Myers, you know, get a reaction. But I thought it was a little too dramatic. You know, it was not what I expected. And then Sal, you had mentioned that there was a cutaway that just didn't seem like it worked.
Yeah, it was really jarring. It honestly threw me off, and I wasn't expecting them to place the title card right there, right at that moment. This movie did have an uneven tone. It was very jarring for the audience. There's one scene in particular where a babysitter is being murdered, while the child that she's sitting is engaging in some witty banter with her boyfriend, which really throws the audience off.
Yeah, you don't know quite whether to laugh or it just seems out of place in a movie like this, right?
Yeah.
You know, speaking about things being out of place, you know, we mentioned these killings, right? You know, I just kind of felt like, okay, this has been done so many times before. You know, this movie, especially with the trailer, right? It made you feel like this was going to focus a lot on Laurie Strode, and a lot of people were excited for that. I was excited for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I felt like this movie spent way too much time with your, you know, your standard obligatory, you know, killing of side characters. You know, I wanted to see more of Laurie Strode's obsession, more of how it's been haunting her. To me, that would have made this movie feel a little more compelling.
I felt almost like, man, after 40 years, you figure she'd gone to like more therapy sessions to get over this trauma? I don't know. Like, she really.
Have you ever been chased
I don't
by a serial
know.
killer?
I don't know
to
that
an inch of your
40
life?
years later, you'd still be ready for this evil presence. 40 years is a long time, but I mean, she really got everything together, man. She created this booby-trapped, infested house with, like, you know, a panic room and all this stuff to get ready.
To kill even the predator.
Everything you need to even kill the predator, exactly.
I do want to mention that there was a minor plot twist that I saw coming from a mile away. It didn't do anything for me. How did you guys feel about it?
I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised, I guess is the best way I can explain it to you. I mean, I didn't think it was that impactful and necessary. It was just kind of like, well, where can we surprise the audience? But it just didn't work in the end, you know?
Yeah, one last thing that worked for me was they did take an iconic scene from the original Halloween movie. They reversed it, and that kind of speaks to, you know, the feminist, you know, injection of this movie.
I can think of a couple of scenes like that where the characters are inverted, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say what they are, but nice callbacks, you know? Like,
yeah, they had a lot of those.
I appreciated those, and it almost made it seem like, I don't know if they were implying that, you know, what goes around comes around, or like these things are fated to happen in the future almost. I don't know, but anyway.
I don't know how I felt about all that fan service, because it literally just felt like fan service. Even the plot twist we were just talking about. One thing I will say is that I did appreciate the fact that there are multiple audience surrogates throughout this movie. There are characters that speak to the audiences that want to know what the hell is going on in Michael's head. There are characters who don't really care and they're just afraid. And there are other characters who just want to be removed from the entire situation. Lenny, what did you think about the characterization?
Okay, so everyone knows that Jamie Lee Curtis is the best. She's the iconic slasher queen, scream queen, and she did a really good job in this movie. Okay, it was serviceable. I want to say it was, you know, something that was like Oscar worthy, of course, but it was great.
You mean you didn't like her trauma, the way that she was
the way when she was in the car, you know, with her little bottle of alcohol, like
she was a badass. She was fierce.
Actually, I thought that was a better performance than Jamie Lee's. So.
Oh well, I don't know. I thought it was good. I thought she portrayed someone who'd been troubled with you know paranoia, who was always preparing for Michael Myers. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, her and the guy who played the Dr. Sartain were the only two characters that I felt compelled by. You know. So anyone who has seen the original 1978 Halloween remembers the famous tracking shot and point of view shot of little 6-year-old Michael Myers going up the stairs with the mask on, right? Very classic scene, and killing his older sister.
Right.
And that movie is riddled with tracking shots that are very similar, or follow shots, or point of view shots, and the movie is famous for those types of shots. And I feel like in this film, they really tried to bring back some of that stuff. Where you have a lot of shots from Strode's perspective or from Michael Myers' perspective, but they weren't as creative or as innovative. They didn't feel as creative or innovative as the original film.
Right, because in the original, there was that scene where he goes up to the house and like he's looking in different areas.
Yeah.
So you really kind of see like, okay, what's he thinking, or he's calculating this.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is you brought it up is the voyeurism. Like you feel like a voyeur in the original, which is totally a callback to Hitchcock, right? But that's lost in this movie,
Yeah, I felt like the execution of the shots was really inconsistent. One thing I appreciated about the point of view shots in the original film was that it gave me a sense of the locations. This film was really frustrating because they failed to establish any sense of what the locations were like. To specify, in some of the most climactic scenes, I felt like I had no idea where the characters were inside of their houses. I needed those POV shots. On another note, one of the issues that I had with the film was the score. In fact, the trailer score was more appealing to me than the score that we got in the film. Unfortunately, Synths just don't do it for me.
Really, I actually like the score.
What?
I think that the
What?
Halloween score is like an all-time classic, and you didn't notice the different variations of it. Like,
I did.
for
I
example,
did
towards
notice
the end of the movie, the score became just like more slower, but also like heavier. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it just felt like more like hard rockish, I would say.
Okay guys, now it's finally time to put a knife in this pumpkin and give you our real ratings. I'll start off by telling you that I thought this movie really only deserves 3 reels out of 5. For all the reasons we've talked about, I'm done. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, you know, I was looking forward to like something new, something a little more different and innovative, and I was hoping to feel creeped out and feel scared, and it didn't feel like a horror film at all. So I'm gonna actually give it 2.5 reels.
Whoa, you guys were too nice. I'm giving this movie
Really?
2 reels. You just cannot recapture the magic of the original genre starter. Personally, I liked H2O a lot more because I felt like it brought some finality to the franchise.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of finality, guys, that's it for us. That wraps it up. We'd like to say thank you to Sal for being our guest today, and we'll definitely have you on for more shows. And guys, if you like this video, check out our companion video on Halloween, where we actually interview audience reactions at the Alamo Draft House, which obviously is our favorite place to go to watch movies.
That's right, and as always, look us up on Facebook at Real Screeners, and if you like our videos, hit that subscribe button and that bell button, and we hope to see you soon for more real take on movies.
I rate this movie 3 Activias. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Activius. Hi, I'm Jamie Lee Curtis. And I'm...
We barely got that.
I told Bethel we should have had Activia. Like,
Alright guys, now it's time to finally stick a knife in this pumpkin and give you our real ratings on this movie. I'll start...
Our start.
I am 40. I'll start off with the ratings.